Have you ever noticed that the more you evolve mentally, the more people around you become bothered by you? It's not a coincidence. What I'm about to share in the next few minutes will explain why your mental evolution is seen as a threat by those who have chosen to remain in mediocrity. Nietzsche, one of the most provocative philosophers in history, already understood this phenomenon over a century ago, and his ideas have never been more relevant than now. This is not just another empty motivational video. This is a raw analysis of the price you pay when you decide to think for yourself, question what everyone accepts, and build a mind so strong that it becomes feared. If you're feeling misunderstood, isolated, or judged for thinking differently, this video will explain not only why this happens, but how to transform this loneliness into your greatest power. Stay until the end. What you're going to discover might permanently change your view on mental strength. Have you noticed that when you really start to change, people around you begin to feel uncomfortable? They don't speak openly, of course. They disguise it with jokes, with advice masked as concern, or with that awkward silence when you talk about something deeper. But deep down, what's really happening is simple. Your mental evolution threatens their comfort zone, and nobody likes to be forced to confront their own complacency. Perhaps you're going through exactly this right now. You started thinking differently, acting differently, maybe even questioning things you used to accept without thinking twice. And suddenly you began to feel alone, misunderstood, judged. What nobody told you, and what Nietzsche understood better than anyone, is that this is the price of building a strong mind. Not just any kind of strength, but a strength so intense, so effective, that it bothers others. It frightens them, it exposes without saying a word the weakness of those who still live on autopilot. But why does this happen? Because a truly powerful mind is a threat to collective mediocrity. And Nietzsche was clear about this. When you decide to think for yourself, create your own values, and abandon the comfortable illusion of ready-made truths, you become dangerous. Dangerous to the system, dangerous to others, and most importantly, dangerous to your former self. Nietzsche wasn't just a philosopher. He was a surgeon of the human soul, someone who had the courage to look into the abyss of existence and not only face it, but dive into it. And it's precisely in this abyss, in this internal chaos that many avoid, that he found the source of true strength. Because for Nietzsche, it's not in peace, stability, or order that a human being transforms. It's in pain. It's in the fall. It's in chaos. He wrote, "One must have chaos within oneself to give birth to a dancing star." This isn't a poetic metaphor, it's a psychological diagnosis. It means that if you want to build an unshakable mind, you need to abandon the childish idea that this will happen through comfort, cheap motivation, or positive affirmations. No. True strength is born when you face suffering without running away. When you stop asking for life to be easier and start wishing to be stronger. Think about the times when you grew the most. Was it when everything was fine? Or was it when you were shattered, lost, directionless, having to rebuild yourself with your own hands? Nietzsche believed that suffering wasn't an error of existence, but its main driving force. He didn't romanticize pain. He viewed it as a tool, and if you can change your relationship with pain, with failure, with loneliness, you'll begin to shape something rare, an indomitable spirit. For those who want to delve even deeper into this inner exploration, consider acquiring my ebook, Revealing the Shadow, Carl Jung's Guidance for Facing Internal Conflict. This guide offers not only understanding but also practical strategies to embrace all parts of yourself. By acquiring this guide, you will take a courageous step toward one of the deepest and most revolutionary aspects of human psychology: the encounter with your own shadow. The ebook link is pinned in the first comment. And remember, this journey is just the beginning. Continue exploring your shadows to discover the light they can reveal. When Nietzsche declared God is dead, he wasn't celebrating. He was issuing a warning that many still don't understand today. What he killed wasn't a divine figure itself. He killed the illusion that there is a higher authority taking care of everything. The illusion that there is a plan, a pre-established meaning, a purpose given by someone from outside. The death of God is the end of any excuse. And this is frightening because until then it was easy to outsource responsibility for your life. It was comforting to believe that everything has a reason, that suffering is part of a divine plan, that there is a greater good that will justify everything in the end. Nietzsche violently tears away this veil. He looks you in the eyes and says you are alone. There is no ready-made meaning. Now you are the creator. And this is where the true construction of a powerful mind begins. Because most people crumble when they realize they're alone in the face of chaos, without a manual, without guarantees, without anyone to blame. But those who have the courage to face this without falling apart begin to forge an unshakable consciousness. With the death of God, Nietzsche pushes you into the abyss of radical freedom. You shouldn't follow commandments. You must create values. You shouldn't obey. You must overcome yourself. It's the birth of brutal autonomy. And with it comes the weight. Everything now depends on you. There is no more absolution, no more salvation. Either you build yourself or you sink. But here's the secret. This freedom that scares you is also the greatest source of power you can have. When you understand that no one will come to save you, something inside you awakens. A fire that forces you to stand up even while bleeding. That forces you to think for yourself, to feel for yourself, to act not because someone said it's right, but because you decided it is. Nietzsche didn't believe in the slow and passive evolution of humanity. He believed in rupture, in radical transformation, in creative destruction. And that's why he conceived the idea of the Übermensch, the beyond man. It's not about a superhero, it's not someone with mystical powers. The Übermensch is a being who has overcome everything that imprisons the common man: guilt, obedience, herd morality, need for acceptance. The Übermensch doesn't seek to be accepted, doesn't ask permission to exist, creates his own internal laws and lives by them, even if this puts him against the entire world. And that's exactly why his mind becomes unbreakable, because it isn't built on the expectations of others. It doesn't need external approval to validate itself. It's self-sufficient. It feeds on its own will to power, the deep impulse to shape reality in its own image. This is the central point. The Übermensch doesn't adapt to the world. He imposes meaning on the world. Doesn't seek comfort, seeks greatness, doesn't ask, is this allowed? Asks, is this worthy of me? And this shift in perspective changes everything. Because when you begin to see yourself as a creator, not as a servant, the way you think, act, and feel transforms completely. But here's the problem. Becoming this kind of being requires sacrifice. You'll have to kill parts of yourself that still beg for approval. You'll have to face the pain of not belonging. You'll have to bear the weight of building your identity from scratch without guarantees, without pats on the back, without applause from the audience. And most people can't handle it. They give up before they start. They run back to the safety of ready-made beliefs, dogmas, and rules that someone else wrote for them. If there's one thing nobody tells you about the path of mental strength, it's this. The stronger you become, the lonelier you feel. And it's not because you isolate yourself by choice. It's because the world begins not to know what to do with you. Nietzsche spoke clearly about this. The free spirit, the one who moves away from common morality, who doesn't accept easy truths, who thinks for himself, inevitably distances himself from the herd. And this distancing hurts. But this pain is necessary because real growth requires space. And you can't grow while you're trapped in the expectations of others. Most people live within an invisible herd, where every thought is policed. Every action is measured by the reactions of others. You've become accustomed to walking in a group, thinking like the group, feeling safe because there are people around you. But what Nietzsche proposes is the opposite. He tears you away from this comfort and throws you into the desert. In this desert there are no applause, no compliments, no guide. There is only you. Your doubts, your traumas, your fears, your desire to give up. And that's where the real test begins. Because what will most people do? They will run back. They will hide again behind their masks. They will pretend they don't feel, they don't think, they don't see. But you, if you really want to become someone who cannot be broken, will have to stay. You will have to endure the silence that reveals who you really are. Nietzsche said, "The individual must always fight not to be swallowed by the tribe. If you try, you will often feel lonely and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high for owning yourself." That's the essence, the possession of oneself, the rarest and most powerful conquest anyone can achieve. Because when you truly own yourself, no one else can control you. No one else dictates your value and no one else can bring you down. But this ownership comes with the weight of loneliness. You will lose people. You will be misunderstood. You will hear that you are arrogant, strange, distant. They will try to pull you back into the mold. They will call you crazy, cold, insensitive. But that's the price of not being domesticated. It's the price of not needing applause. It's the price of not living as a mirror of others' needs. And here's the raw truth. If you can't bear loneliness, you're not ready for freedom. Because all real freedom comes with abandonment. Abandonment of emotional crutches, of comfortable illusions, of utilitarian friendships. Nietzsche didn't fear tyrants, authoritarian leaders, or declared oppressors. What he feared and denounced with philosophical fury was the subtle and corrosive power of collective mediocrity. That invisible system that keeps everyone leveled down, that punishes those who dare to think differently, that rewards obedience and disguises cowardice as virtue. The true tyranny, according to Nietzsche, doesn't come from above. It comes from the sides. It comes from the crowd that demands you remain small so they don't have to grow. And that's exactly what happens when you begin to stand out, when your mind becomes sharper, your spirit firmer, your presence more uncomfortable. You begin to disturb. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something rare. You're breaking the mold, and society hates those who break molds. Collective mediocrity can't stand individual brilliance because that brilliance exposes the darkness of common life. Nietzsche called this slave morality, a morality built by those who, unable to achieve greatness, decided to invert values. They transformed strength into arrogance, ambition into selfishness, independence into coldness. And with this, they created a moral system that protects the weak and condemns the strong. But make no mistake, it's not out of compassion. It's out of resentment, because the weak don't want to be saved. They want the strong to be destroyed. That's why, when you begin to free yourself, they begin to attack you. Sometimes directly, sometimes subtly, with looks, silence, irony, but the message is clear. Come back to the group. You're making us feel small. And you are, involuntarily, just by being who you are. Nietzsche understood that most people live in a state of paralyzing conformity, an existence shaped by fear, guilt, and obedience. And anyone who questions this state is seen as a threat. But don't be fooled. Mediocrity doesn't attack with strength. It attacks with numbers, with consensus, with the weight of repetition. It will try to make you doubt yourself. It will make you think you're wrong for not fitting in. It will use all social resources, from shame to exclusion, to make you bow your head. And it's at this moment that many give up, because they can't stand being the strange one, the difficult one, the arrogant one. But Nietzsche would give you another name: necessary. Because while the world revolves around recycled ideas, fabricated desires, and comfortable truths, it's the strong individual who brings the necessary discomfort for something new to be born. You've made it this far. That already sets you apart from the majority. Most people would have abandoned this text at the first provocation, would have fled at the first discomfort, would have given up the moment they realized this isn't content meant to stroke the ego. It's a call to action, a call for those who are ready to abandon the comfortable illusion and face reality with eyes wide open. Because building a mind so strong that it becomes feared isn't just a choice. It's a renunciation. You will lose. You will lose friendships based on superficiality. You will lose opportunities that require submission. You will lose the ability to be content with little. But in exchange, you gain something invaluable: integrity, clarity, presence. You'll begin to notice that most people live in a stupor, and that your lucidity is frightening, that your firmness makes others tremble, that your absence is louder than the presence of many. This strength doesn't come from outside. It isn't taught in self-help books, nor is it obtained with ready-made phrases or empty affirmations. It's dug from the depths of the soul, in the silence of difficult nights, in the choices that nobody sees. It's the result of an internal war between who you were and who you're becoming. And this war has no end, because the truly strong aren't those who have won. They are those who continue fighting even when they could already stop. Nietzsche didn't want to create followers. He wanted to provoke internal earthquakes. He wanted you to stop crawling for approval, begging for meaning, seeking in ready-made systems what can only be built with blood, sweat, and consciousness. He wanted you to become dangerous, not in a violent sense, but in a rare sense. So rare that your mere existence forces others to look in the mirror and confront what they're avoiding. You are not alone. You are just ahead. And that, my dear, is frightening, but also liberating. If this video made sense to you, then write, I am strong and determined in the comments. Thank you for staying until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow the upcoming videos.